Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great week. This is Ray Cruz and Amir Garami at MCF Mortgage, and I'm here with episode 12 of our MIDD, our Mortgage Intelligently Deal Desk. And today, Amir is actually going to talk about a deal that he helped out on. And unlike most of our deals where the clients are brought to us by our referral partners, this particular transaction, the client actually found us on his own, by just on her own, just by Googling, right? By doing a search online, looking for help, to get her into this property so she won't lose her earnest money deposit. Couple challenges on this particular property. Number one, it was an investment property. So as every guy, or as most of you guys know, those are a little more challenging to get financing on, and to get qualified for. And number two, it's also a non-warrantable condo, which makes it even more challenging. And to sort of add and piggyback onto the non-warrantable piece, it was in South Florida. So that, just for those of you guys out there that understand the market, that's just another level of risk,
Right.
Condos in South Florida. And the biggest challenge of all, which is I think why she was probably looking for us online, is that she could not document income. A self-employed borrower who, like many self-employed borrowers, write off a lot of expenses, therefore showing a net adjusted gross income on their tax returns of zero or not enough to qualify for a traditional mortgage. So those are the challenges we were dealing with. Amir is going to tell us how he helped this borrower.
Yeah. Hey, Ray. Thanks so much, everyone. Welcome to episode 12 of the Mortgage Intelligently Deal Desk. So, man, this one, yes, we were found online. She had been looking for portfolio lenders to rescue this deal for her. Man, there was a lot of challenges. Let me tell you, a public service announcement first before we get into the challenges of this deal. It's a hot market, right? Very little inventory. Everyone's trying to make sure that they win the deal over. So one of the biggest mistakes this borrower made was that she went to the open house unrepresented. The listing agent, and there are some guys out there that are only about the commission, right? Majority of us in this business care about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But some people, greed is their motivating factor. And this listing agent, that was her motivating factor. Our client was a new investor. She had only owned a principal residence. Her realtor that she had used in the past had moved to a new location, so she had no contacts. She went into this house and was greeted by the listing agent. The listing agent said, hey, if you really want to make sure you get it, let me write the offer, etc. Wrote an absolute non-contingent offer on anything. Wow. Again, if you're in the business, a condo, you need to have at a minimum a contingency to review the condo documents, right? Condo documents came.
Unless you're ready to pay cash for it.
Right, unless you're ready to pay cash. Made her put 25% down as the EMD, which again is out of the norm. She was securing her commission, guys. At a minimum, when the condo documents come in, you should review them. She reached out to the agent. Agent said, oh, it's not a big deal, move on. So loan goes to the lender. Now, if you guys are familiar with the South Florida market, a couple of months ago, there was a tragedy in South Florida and Surfside, where a building collapsed, right? Florida is littered with condominiums on both coasts. Some of them are older, some of them are newer. Building standards have changed. The climate, has its impact on these buildings. And there's a 40-year certification that takes place where the building is assessed by an engineer. Dues are placed on them to make sure that the building is going to be habitable and is going to survive another 40 years. This building did not have sufficient reserves to be warrantable, and that's very common in South Florida. South Florida by code allows you to, as a homeowner, condo owner, to choose whether you want to devote enough towards the reserve requirements or not. So there's a lot of unwarrantable condos. So property was unwarrantable, which means it's not eligible for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or FHA, VA financing. So that was obstacle number one. Obstacle number two, guys, was the fact that this borrower, as Ray mentioned, self-employed. She was doing everything legally under the tax code to deduct expenses that she had. So although she had a very healthy income, her bottom line after the deductions, which are allowed, and she's in a business where she owns heavy equipment, a lot of vehicles, things of that nature. There's depreciation, there's other factors. So although you may show a gross income of $1 million, right, in receivables, by the time it gets whittled down through all the different loopholes that are available, her income would not support her current home, her expenses, and then this investment property. So we were dealing with that. It took a lot of massaging because we had a non-compliant realtor partner. Fortunately, the seller understood what was going on. The seller was represented by a very good attorney and one with a lot of heart, who once we spoke to him understood kind of what was happening and realized, wow, this, his listing agent somewhat took advantage of a naive seller. Naive buyer. Realtors have a fiduciary duty to whoever they represent. And in this case, this realtor was representing both parties. So with the attorney's cooperation and with the seller's cooperation, we worked out what's called a debt service coverage loan for this borrower. Debt service coverage ratio means that when you buy this property, the monthly PITIA, guys, stands for principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and HOA dues, association dues, would cover what the monthly mortgage payment would be. We were tight, we were playing with, dollars here and there. So there was a lot of adjustments back and forth. Fortunately, we were able to close the transaction timely. And this borrower rescued her 25%, because if it was left to the other lender, they would have turned the file down. I really, the two takeaway points, Ray, from this is hire your own realtor. Don't just to win the offer, jump at the listing agent. Be open, do some research, understand what's going on, understand the market. If you don't have one, talk to a loan officer that you're using. They come across, I do, I have a Rolodex, if Rolodexes even exist anymore, but I have a Rolodex of amazing realtor partners in different markets. And
you have contacts in your phone.
Exactly, contacts on my iPhone, no more Rolodexes. So, and we could pass you on to someone that is well-versed in that market space. That was
Can I ask you a question there on this. So I know some buyers, right? They forego working with a buyer agent, thinking they'll get a quote unquote a better deal if they go straight to the listing agent, where the listing agent may be, of course, more enticed to sell, since they're representing both seller and buyer, right? To work with the buyer. Was that the situation here? Was that what the buyer did, and the purpose?
Yeah,
the reason,
absolutely.
kind of the mindset, I guess, for the buyer in this case?
Absolutely. She thought she didn't have a listing agent, a buyer's agent, because the person she had worked with in the past had moved out of town and they had lost touch. She knew this building. It was around her job site. So she was under the impression that if she gets something close, she could check up on it. She's, as a new landlord, and it's smart. If you're going to be a new landlord, I know there's a lot out there. Hey, invest out of town. I think you should invest on your first deal, invest where you're going to be in control, and you could, go check up on your asset, right? Yes, she went into an open house, and this, the listing agent, she was a predator, and this was the prey. What's even generally, guys, and then when, at least it's been my experience, when someone acts as a dual agent, they reduce commissions, or there's some form of fee reduction to the seller and the buyer. In this case, she even charged the buyer extra commission because the seller was only paying 5% out.
Wow.
She charged the buyer an extra 1% commission.
Wow.
So again, this was pure greed as a motivation. Now I think she still is going to be able to salvage, a good investment, long term. But not every investment is going to be a home run. I think this was a lower price, but one that was expensive learning lesson for her future investment goals. And she's got a lot of goals, and she's the kind of lady that I know 100% will make every one of these goals come out to be a reality.
Sounds like, there definitely, unfortunately, there was a lot of greed there from that listing agent side. But at the same time, what I'm hearing you say is that the buyer, there was some short-sightedness on the buyer at the same time. And they have to take, there's some responsibility on the buyer to do their due diligence as well, right?
Absolutely.
So it seems like, these two things sort of collided, and I think the listing agent probably saw this in the buyer, right? Saw the short-sightedness. And like you said, instead of doing, their part and really looking out for, they can, look, we both have had realtors that have been on both sides of the transaction. Yeah. And many of them can do a great job representing both parties for a fair deal, right?
Right.
It just doesn't seem like, unfortunately, that happened in this particular case. Is that right?
No, I agree. I think I would absolutely agree with you. The buyer did not do enough homework before investing her time and her money into this transaction, or any transaction in that matter. I would really urge everyone. It's always interesting to me, and you and I always, the proverbial water cooler talk about this, is that people want a pre-approval immediately, and they spend no time researching what they want to do, but they want to go to dinner at a restaurant. They read 5,000 Yelp reviews and Google reviews before they go have a hamburger.
Well, even finding us online, right? I mean,
right.
She Googled us. She did her, I'm sure she did her background on you or on me or on the company, right? And before she probably selected us. Yeah. So, like you said, I mean, you got to do that research. You gotta have those conversations. But sorry to cut you off.
No, that's what I was saying. I think once the lender turned her down and kind of alerted her as to what was going on, this was a traditional lender, guys. Again, we are a traditional lender as well too. We just have a whole host of portfolio products that we offer to help people rescue themselves in these type of situations. She learned a lot from the lender, and she was able, with what she had put together, to go online and do the accurate research that ideally should have been done from day one. But again, the same amount of time you do or you put into researching whatever topic you're interested in online, if real estate is going to be your new hobby and your new investment goals, you guys need to do just as much research. Work with the appropriate team. You need a wealth team. Your wealth team is your lender, right? It's your realtor, it's your CPA, it's your CFP, and then an attorney. These 5 people will help you either get very rich or stay very broke. So you got to really make sure you pick the right team.
That's well put, Amir. Thanks for sharing that experience with us. What's that?
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that experience with us. Like I said, typically our clients are referred to us by real estate partners. In this case, this client found us online. Unfortunately, because of the situation with the, how she dealt with the realtor, she probably spent a little bit more than she should have. But at the end of the day, like Amir said, she was able to get into the property with his assistance and with our portfolio loan program. And, hopefully with the appreciation in the property and her now being a little more savvy on her next transaction, she'll be able to save a lot more money on the next investment property she purchases.
Absolutely. She's going to do really well. I'm positive.
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. Until next week. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to Amir or myself. Again, this program was our what's called our DSCR program, where we were really looking at the income derived from the property, the debt service coverage ratio, right? So we're looking at rental income that property brings in versus the expense that you'll have on that property, like Amir mentioned, the PITIA, so the principal, interest, taxes, insurance. And in this case, it was a condo, so I had a condo association dues.
That's correct.
All right, guys, till next time.
All right, guys, take care.